This time we are adding the most expensive NES game on our wish list to the collection. But this game right here may cause some controversy. This year sees the 40th anniversary of my life, and 2025 sees the 40th anniversary of the iconic Nintendo Entertainment System. And to celebrate these two milestones, I wanted to build my dream NES collection and prove the only reason we grow old is because we stop playing. This is the NES Top 40 at 40. Hello again folks, and welcome back to the NES Top 40 at 40. My quest for 2025 to try and find my top 40 most wanted NES games to celebrate two massive 40th anniversaries. First off, the 40th anniversary of one of the most iconic consoles of all time, the Nintendo Entertainment System, and also the 40th anniversary of myself. And this time we are back on the hunt for NES bangers at retro game stores, CEX, and even a gaming market. And this time we not only managed to cross the most expensive game off our want list, we also managed to find one of the mintiest CIB NES games you will ever see. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe. So I put new videos out every Saturday night at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. And if you ever miss an episode of the NES Top 40 at 40, fear not, I'll link them all down below in a playlist. Now, let's start the NES hunt. We're starting our NES hunt this time in Kings Lynn because this town has so many good retro shops, including this shop, Retro Records and Toys. And straight away we headed in and found some really nice retro games here, some Mega Drive games, some SNES games, even some Master System games. But unfortunately this time nothing we needed NES wise, even though it was cool to see some really nice retro, including this game right here, Ghostbusters for the Mega Drive, which honestly I never knew commanded this higher price. Just down the road is our next stop, Once Was New, which sells loads of Pokemon cards, toys, and more importantly, retro games. And you can see this glass cabinet of dreams was absolutely packed, including a really nice boxed NES console and a couple of games. But unfortunately, they didn't have many NES games in this time, but they did have an Atari Jaguar. It was really surprising they didn't have more NES games in store, as Once Was New always has a really good selection of retro games, including import games, and other than NES there was a massive selection for every other console. Our penultimate stop in Kings Lynn was the Retro Retreat, and I had a good feeling about this, and my feeling was correct. Heading to the glass cabinets of dreams, and there was not only NES games but also boxed NES games. Now there was nothing really here boxed wise that I couldn't do without. There were some pretty low end titles, and honestly some of the condition was a little bit questionable, but we are talking about games which are nearly 40 years old. But the unboxed selection of car only was really good. There was definitely some games here I was interested in adding to the collection, but so far I hadn't seen anything specifically on our list until I went down to the bottom of the cabinet here and I saw a game we needed for the NES Top 40 at 40. Bad Dudes vs Dragon Ninja for just £8, an absolute bargain. Our final stop in Kings Lynn then is CEX, and I have said historically this is one of the best CEX stores I've visited all around the UK, and you can see why. Check out this selection of retro here, but more importantly, one of my most wanted boxed NES games. Yes, with the NES Top 40 at 40, we're not specifically going after boxed games, but for me, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles holds such a special place in my heart. I would love to add that game boxed and complete to the NES Top 40 at 40. So of course, I went to the counter to check out the condition, but that's not all. They also gave me this list of all the other unboxed NES games they had in stock, and let's say we grabbed one. Here we are then, back in the games room after hitting up multiple retro gaming stores and CEX in the town of Kings Lynn. And it really is one of the best towns in the UK for retro game hunting. And even though we didn't manage to find any games we needed off the list this time, we still have one NES game to add to the collection. Now unfortunately at the Retro Retreat, Bad Dudes vs Dragon Ninja did have a lot of label damage, so I did leave it behind. As well, in CEX, that boxed copy of Turtles for the NES was in pretty rough shape, but honestly it's such a hard game to find in good condition, which is a real shame as it is one of my most wanted boxed games. We already have it in the NES collection, of course. It was one of the first games I ever bought for the NES, but as a Turtles fan, I just really want it CIB. But we did manage to pick up one absolute bargain. I think this is the cheapest NES game available at CEX. For just £2 you can get a copy of Kickoff. Yes, it's an 8-bit football game, but for £2, there's no way I'm going to leave this behind. And this is in really, really nice condition. Considering the price, it's just a no-brainer really. And honestly, I would rather play an 8-bit football game like this than the brand new FIFA. This for me was an enjoyable age of sports games. They sold about 8 and even 16-bit sports games that just hit differently. And remember, we'll be playing every NES game we pick up in this episode at the end, so stick around for some gameplay of Kickoff. Next up, we are NES hunting at the Norwich Games Festival, featuring the Norwich video game retro market. And I've said throughout this series, retro gaming markets such as this one are some of the best places to find NES games we need for the NES Top 40 at 40. And what better place to start than with local legends Last Level Games, who always have an amazing selection of NES games both in store and at gaming markets such as this one. And somewhat surprisingly, so far, I haven't been NES hunting at their actual store, so it's really good to dig through their inventory of NES games here today. And they had this box of heavy hitters here. Yes, there's a lot of loose cartridges, but there was a lot of box games in very, very good condition. We are talking minty fresh boxed NES games here, including my most wanted target, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yes, it's not on the list, but this game holds such nostalgia for me. If we can get a decent condition boxed copy of this game, it would be such a win. Again, yes, it's not on the list, but it's a game which you can pick up for a reasonable price. But it's not about the value of that game, it's about the nostalgia. And honestly, I just don't think you can put a price on nostalgia, even though Last Level Games have of course put a price on this one. I think it was £45, but look at it, this is in really, really nice condition and very, very tempting. But of course, hunting at gaming markets is all about patience. You don't want to shoot your entire budget too early in the day, as you never know what's just around the corner. And of course, Turtles isn't on our list, but there's still lots of games we are looking to find on our list. I did think we'd found one here. I thought it was the original Zelda, but it is Zelda 2. It's just that gold cart just gives it away. It's just such an iconic cartridge. Some pretty interesting boxed games here, and I never knew that Mario is Missing got an NES release. I don't know why, I just always thought this game was only released on the SNES, so it was very interesting to see. There were some really nice box games here, including this copy of Kirby's Adventure. But like I said, primarily we're looking for these games loose. We have a lot of games to find, and picking them up loose is just a much cheaper way to do this. And I can't believe we are finding Metroid this time at the Norwich video game retro market. I literally bought it just after the last market, and of course I would have preferred to have found it in the wild, but we did get an absolute bargain for that one on eBay. If you missed the last episode, go back and watch it. We got that for a ridiculously good price. And speaking of, £10 for Ski or Die, an absolute classic, even though I already own it in the collection, but for a tenner, a very good price. And speaking of good prices, some really good prices on some more boxed NES games here. Now, nothing I decided to pick up this time, but it was good to see so many boxed NES bangers. Now, this next stall had some really minty games, but if you are picking up minty games, you're going to be paying a premium. Now, this Turtles was only £30, but one side of the box was sun faded. This Super Mario 2 was in really nice condition, and for 45 quid was very tempting. But this is what I mean, this copy of Low G-Man is mint. Yes, it has a £50 price tag, which is pretty high for that game, but you are paying for the condition. And again, this one was tempting. Crash Test Dummies for the NES. Again, like Mario's Missing we saw earlier, a game I never knew got an NES release. But as I said, you want mini, you pay for it. I think it was fate. I decided to revisit this store we visited earlier in the day just before leaving the gaming market, as I had missed this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles boxed. And upon further inspection, this was in really, really good condition. with a £40 price tag. But I threw out an offer and I'm happy to say I managed to secure this for an absolute bargain price for the condition. I'll take you back to the games room and show you how mint this is. Here we are then, back in the games room after the Norwich Games Festival featuring the Norwich video game retro market. And you can tell by the smile on my face how happy I am with this pickup right here. Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles mint in box for the NES. Now I put this in a box protector because this needs to be protected. This is one of the mintiest NES games I have ever seen. This is a game which is nearly 40 years old. And just look at the condition of this one. It has one slight blemish. It has a black mark over the barcode there. But for me, it's about the artwork on the front of this one. It is a thing of absolute beauty. Just seeing the four brothers there, all with their red bandanas as the kind of comics intended. This is in such good condition, and the condition spreads to the inside. Like, of course, the cartridge comes in a dust sleeve. Not official Nintendo, but I'll let that slide. Cartridge, absolutely flawless. Such good condition. Now don't get me wrong, this isn't a megally expensive game. I paid just £35 for this boxed CIB mint copy. And yes, maybe I could have picked this up cheaper, but for this condition, like, look at this manual. Absolute perfection. I am so happy to add this game, CIB, to the collection. It's a game I've wanted since my childhood. Yes, I had it loose, but CIB just hits differently. But we have one more game to add to the NES Top 40 this time, and this one is a heavy hitter. The NES Top 40 is made up of my 40 most wanted NES games. The games which I believe I needed in my collection to build my dream NES collection. And there are some low, cheap bangers, and there are some expensive grail items. And this game right here is the most expensive game on this list. But like I said at the start of this video, this game may cause some controversy. Now I want to go ahead and say from the off, for me, game collecting is about playing games. At some point I will get round to playing every game in my collection, or die trying, because I collect games for the love of playing games. So many of these games are games I could not afford growing up, or I didn't have access to growing up. And especially when it comes to this game, I couldn't have afforded growing up. And like I said, this is the most expensive game on this list, in the hundreds of pounds. But I managed to secure a copy off eBay of this game for a fraction of that price. And this game is Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. Now have a close look at this cartridge. Yes, there's a little bit of label damage at the bottom, but the eagle-eyed among you may notice this is the NTSC version of this game. Now bear in mind, the PAL version of this game, unboxed, cart only, is hundreds of pounds. And it is a fairly hard to find game. Now, yes, this is an NTSC version, but I have a ROM console which plays import games, and I'm able to play this today. This is a game I never thought I'd get the chance to play on the original hardware per se. Yes, it's a ROM console, but it's essentially the same hardware from an original cartridge. This is an original cartridge. It's just the NTSC version. And you're probably wondering, Dan, why have you picked up the NTSC version of this game? Well, simply put, I was looking on eBay for NES games, and this game came up for under 30 quid. For under 30 quid, we are near on picking this game up for a tenth of the price the PAL version would be. And like I said, at the end of the day, I just want to play these games. And I have no shame in saying, if I can play this game for a tenth of the price it would cost me still for the original cartridge, and only original cartridge in my collection, which looks no differently, I have no qualms by owning an NTSC version of this game, because for a tenth of the price, honestly, I think it's stupid not to import this. Yes, I cannot play this on my original console without modding it, which I am tempted to do because I'm having some real issues with my original NES console, but let me know in the comments down below. You may disagree with what I've done picking up an NTSC version, but at the end of the day, I have a finite budget when it comes to game collecting. I had a plan to build up CX vouchers and eventually buy the PAL version of this game. I may do it one day, should the be able to way to do it happen, but rather than spending hundreds of pounds on the PAL version, for now at least, I'm very happy to own this game and finally play it, most importantly, albeit the NTSC version. There we have it then, folks, a controversial episode of the NES Top 40 at 40, but the fact remains, we have crossed the most expensive game off this list of 40 games I'm hoping to find before the end of 2025, and spending such a small amount on this game means I have a bigger budget to find the remainder of these games, and find them we will. We will build my dream NES collection before the end of 2025, and nearing the halfway point, we are looking reasonably good. We have some of the heaviest hitters off this list now, including the heaviest hitter. But my quest to find these NES games is going to take me all around the UK, and who knows, maybe beyond. But first things first, we have not one but two brand new NES games to play together. So I hope you join me playing some NES bangers. If not, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, and remember, life begins at 40 and we only grow old because we stop playing. See you soon! Let's get into some NES gaming then. And you may notice it's night time here in the games room, but this is more often than not when I do the majority of my gaming. But the question is, for £2, how much fun can you have with this game Kickoff? Let's find out. So this is a £2 NES game, which it seems isn't emulating too fantastically on the Retron HD. So I am the blue team playing down the pitch, and straight away they are kind of running away with the ball and it's straight back to the keeper. So one of the things you kind of forget about these older sports games is that there's no commentary. So you have to kind of put up with my commentary today, and they are back once again on the ball. So we'll kick it back out to our players, and we're actually going down the pitch. Okay, I thought it was a lot closer than when I kind of took that shot there. But other than the emulation, this isn't overtly bad. Like, for £2, like, you know, how much fun can you have for £2? And at the end of the day, it's a sports game using two buttons. It's just a shame that these two buttons aren't really getting the ball into their half of the pitch so far. But, you know, people complain about sports games being too easy these days. I'm sure eventually we can actually... No, it's going to go back to the keeper. Well, like they say, it's a funny old game. And honestly, I wasn't really quite sure what to expect for £2. But I can guarantee with the next game, we'll be definitely getting our money's worth. Going from quite possibly the cheapest NES game I'll ever own to undoubtedly one of the most valuable. Now, this is one I've been excited to play. And honestly, it was with a bit of trepidation I put this on the list, Castlevania 3, as I knew this was going to be very hard to find. And even if I did find it, it was going to be super expensive. And to be able to play this game off the original cartridge for under 30 quid, I never thought I'd see the day. Of course I could have emulated this game. I have this on the Castlevania collection for the Switch, but I wanted to play this game off the original cartridge. And, well, just look at it. Just listen to it. And here's the thing. Yes, this is the NTSC version of this game, but we are playing the original game in the way it was intended, with an NES controller, albeit not on the original NES console, but via this emulation console. But I can't wait any longer. I have to skip through the intro and just jump into this one, as I have waited a long while for this one. Let's get into it. I think everyone puts their name in the game. Right, so just look at the graphics in this one. Castlevania on the NES is such an absolute banger. And here's the thing, this was the third and final Castlevania game I needed for the NES. And musically, so good. Controls, so good. Graphics, good. It's just an all-time classic, and one of the few Castlevania games I haven't played, because this is I think we forget how many Castlevania games there are, especially on the NES and then onto the SNES. But oh, it's just an absolute classic. I can imagine like playing this back in the day must have been absolutely groundbreaking. And at the end of the day as well, this is what started Metroidvanias. In the last episode, we got Metroid. And then now in this episode, somewhat ironically, we have Castlevania. It's kind of crazy how we've kind of gone with both games over the course of both episodes. I'm just getting all the power-ups and stuff now, because I know this game's going to get harder, and we kind of get a little way in. We're going to slowly start investigating the castle. And that's the thing with this game, it's just kind of knowing where to go and kind of climbing up. We're going to get some platforming here. Oh, wasn't bad. Enemies are quite quick in this one, if I remember. So platforming can always be my one downfall. You can't jump on the stairs. Sneak up on a skeleton. So it's one of those weirder things with kind of the 2D backgrounds, because you can kind of fall into the background per se. It's like really hit specifically to go up the stairs. I always forget with this one, as soon as you fall off kind of the level you're on and go below the screen, you actually die as well. Also, partly this game is remembering where the enemies are going to spawn from. Yeah, even like a 2D kind of platform like this is one of my weaknesses. But such a golden age of kind of Capcom games around this time, with the music and everything. I tell you what, the controls in this one are still, actually to this day, incredibly tight. Except for the jumps. Sometimes the jumps can be a little bit sticky. But also this is a very old NES controller I'm using. I can't pull together off that hard, I'm sure we'll find. Ooh, sneaky skeleton. Now, I have no idea how far I can get in this with our guide, because I've never played this one. I presume, it being a Castlevania game, it's probably going to be quite hard to find where to go, especially in the later, but we'll kind of do a large portion of the game here, probably until I die or something terrible happens. Yeah, I forgot we can actually throw the holy water as well. Just trying to get as many power-ups as possible. Oh, that was cheap. Turn the skeleton. Some more health there. I do often remember the old Castlevania bosses being pretty tough. Now, are we going to the side of the screen or down there? So I'm going back into the catacombs. And down here. But yeah, it's amazing that this game kind of exists on the NES, because it's got like everything you kind of want of a game, except for annoying floaty Medusa heads. I'm gonna wait for the next one to come. Is that like, oh That's terrible timing, Dad. Terrible, terrible timing. It's also one of the harder things about this game is how far back you have to go. But it's one of those games, more often than not, if you die, it is fair. And it is worth kind of picking up a lot of these power-ups as you go. But it's a shame this game, it's one of those games where it's a shame where it's so expensive that so many people won't probably get to play it, especially on the original hardware. So I actually feel really lucky to be able to play this like the way it's intended on the NES. And at the end of the day, you know, the main thing is playing the game. So even if you do have to go down the emulation route, because the Castlevania collections are often very cheap, especially if you go digitally. They're often on offer on the Switch store and probably other stores as well. They never like ever anything like Games Pass or anything like that, but they're definitely worth checking out because, yeah, if you're looking for a retro game, which like I think has stood the test of time, I think you can't go wrong with Castlevania. But I'm not going to sit here and just stream the entire game because I can tell I'm probably in tonight for the long run on this one. So I'm going to bid you all adieu, and until next time on the next episode of the NES Top 40 at 40, keep playing the game. See you soon.